Hey, Mike Slater here on the First TV, our post-debate coverage. Thanks for being here. I cannot wait for the radio show tomorrow, Breitbart News Daily. We simulcast it right here on the First TV. The second 2 hours, we're going to take your phone calls for as much as we possibly can. We'll be playing, of course, all the clips from the wake that took place, that is taking place right now on CNN. Eric Erickson said, not since baby Jessica fell in the well has CNN been this riveting to watch. Right now, I can't believe it. I can't believe we got both. What a twofer here. Emma Jo Morris is the Breitbart News political editor, and Alex Marlow is the editor-in-chief of Breitbart.com. I would normally go to the boss first, but Alex, I think you and I would both agree, ladies first. Emma Jo, what do we make of what you just saw there?
That was painful. That was actually, there was something sad about it. You have this guy who looks like a lobotomized zombie. I mean, I don't know how else to describe that performance. Standing there, and Trump was in, I think, one of his most masterful performances in his political career. And the contrast was just so stark. I was cringing for Biden and embarrassed for him, actually.
Alex?
Yeah, it was painful. It was, it's interesting. I'm getting that word sadness a lot in my text chain. And these are people who would never vote for Joe Biden in a million years. They'd never cross their minds. And they still felt kind of sad for him, which they shouldn't. He brought this all on himself. And that's what people need to understand, is that he's the guy in charge. He's in charge of the party. And he's the only one who is standing between him and being the nominee yet again. So it is entirely up to him whether or not he wants to continue after that performance. He can't win. I mean, it's got to be, how could he win the race? He can't win the race. So if he steps down, no one else could win either. I mean, this is just a total disaster for Democrats. It's hard to know where to begin with it. But amen to Emma's point about Trump, who did an incredible job. He was very calm, very disciplined. Thank God, literally, for the CNN mute button so that Joe Biden was allowed to talk uninterrupted and lose his train of thought over and over and over again. It was a just total bloodbath, and I say that word intentionally.
Yeah, add to the list of backfires.
There was a few moments where you could see Trump registering that Biden was just cooking himself, and he was just, his face was actually priceless. Because you see the gears turning where he's realizing this, and he's just hanging back and letting Biden like mumble and fumble around, and then that kill shot, obviously, where he goes, I don't understand the end of that sentence, and I don't think he does either. And that was just devastating.
Okay.
Yeah, that's so good. What do you think, Emma Jo? Because I wanted to look at this debate not from the political junkies like the three of us and people watching the First TV right now and waking up early for Breitbart News Daily tomorrow morning to call in and voice up, but just like your average person who meant to watch whatever was on TV last night and tuned into this by accident. What do you think they saw and felt, either subject-wise or just viscerally?
Oh, is that to me? Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, obviously, if you're just kind of tuning in and you're a passive politics consumer, you're thinking, who is running this country? Because that person can barely get through a sentence, let alone a thought, let alone an action. It was actually kind of scary. Whether I think you're following politics day to day. I mean, I follow politics day to day, and I don't think I've ever seen Biden looking that rough. And I kept thinking to myself, it's really scary that this person is responsible for our national security. And I can't imagine that anyone, whether they follow this, this wasn't the Biden you see day to day. I was as shocked as anyone would be.
Alex Marlow is the editor-in-chief. Alex, do you think the Democrats try to mop this up? What do they do moving forward?
Yeah, that's the big question. I think they're in total checkmate here. They can't move Biden off because it's up to Joe. Joe doesn't want to go anywhere. And he would have to consent to being moved off. And then what are they left with? Kamala Harris? No, that would be a terrible idea. She's not going to win. So then you leapfrog Kamala Harris with cis hetero white male Gavin Newsom. That wouldn't be good. So they're completely trapped. And it is going to be delish to see how they try to spin this thing to get Joe back on track, which they can't do. He's not going to win, but he's got the down ticket stuff is still significant. But I think one thing that came up tonight that I think was really important is to see Joe Biden actually be more goofy and out of place than even the worst caricatures of him by Republicans and by conservatives in the comedy space. This is going to be a huge eye-opener to anyone who is still open-minded and still paying attention. But I will tell you, the people who are in power, they're the ones who are the most scared. Silicon Valley, Hollywood, the deep state, all the people who Joe Biden has tasked with various parts of our society and who they scratch each other's back. Joe protects them on a legislative level, and they fund him or work for him to make sure he gets done what he needs to get done. All these people are in the fetal position right now because they know it's all about to come crumbling down for them.
Yeah, on that point, Alex, what about the money?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm so sorry, Slater.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, David Axelrod, I think, is probably a good indication of what Obama world is thinking, and maybe even Obama himself. And David Axelrod like ran onto CNN immediately following the debate, the CNN Shiva House, as I tweeted, and he was like, "Get this guy off the ticket!" Like that was the first reaction. So you have to think that obviously that's coming from the Obama's corner of the woods.
Wow. Alex, what's the role of money? We were talking to Dr. Gorka a moment ago, and he talked about the political donors who are like, oh, we can't give another dime to this guy. That's got to be a big player. So what's going on behind the scenes there?
Yeah, well, he had a huge fundraising haul before the debate, so clearly they were working some angle here. But yeah, but you would never, after this, donate a penny to Joe Biden's campaign if you cared about money. Because again, it's a loser campaign. It's he could only cheat to win at this point. There's no way he could win after this. So I'm that emphatically win an election. The issue is no one else can win either. So then what do you do if you're politically active and you're a Democrat right now? That is the big question, because where do you put your money? Because you don't want to lose the Senate. They got a big chance at the Senate. The House is very tight. They got governorships. They got to worry about that stuff now. That's their number one concern. But Joe Biden is going to be a big problem for them because
This is, do we lose Alex or do we still have Alex? I couldn't tell if he blipped out. Let me go to Emma Jo. Emma Jo, what is your advice to the Trump campaign tomorrow? Is there such thing as hitting too hard? Do you just sort of let the whole thing sit and let the Democrats kind of panic on their own, or what do you do?
I mean, if you flip over to mainstream media, they are being the best surrogates for Trump right now that he could ask for. If I'm the Trump campaign, I'm saying absolutely nothing for the next 24 hours and just letting them sit with this. They have nothing else to talk about. Tomorrow's Friday. They have nothing else to talk about. This is the most obviously top news item. Obviously, some stuff's going to come out from the Supreme Court, and they're going to try to scurry away from this as fast as possible. So they'll milk that as much as they can. But they absolutely can't get away with tomorrow not doing any post-debate analysis anymore. So if I'm Trump, I am not diverting attention from that for even a moment, because the Democrats aren't even trying to spin this. They're completely ripping Joe Biden apart. So I would let them. I wouldn't say a word.
Yeah. Alex, I'm a bit surprised that you're coming out so hard, because last time we chatted in a similar story, was when Trump lost. That's right. The jury came back and found him guilty of the hush money, blah, 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 whatever. And you were critical of the take of, oh, it's over for Biden. You're like, no. Like, we don't know what's going to happen next. So don't get too ahead of the game here. But you're coming out pretty hot that this whole thing's over. What's different, and why do you think this was so bad?
Did we lose Alex completely, right?
I thought we lost it. Okay, well, that's okay. Emma Jo, we still have each other, and always will.
Yeah.
What do you have an answer to that question? Perhaps do you agree with Alex that this is the end of it?
Well, I thought it was kind of the end before this, and then I think this just put a fork in it. Every single mainstream outlet has basically declared Trump the winner. There needs to be some sort of major black swan event in order to change the direction of this tide, I think. The economy is horrible, and I think that's really the central issue. I think if Biden was, fumbling around the stage tonight, but had, an economy that was serving people, it wouldn't really matter as much. But this guy has been totally incompetent on the economy, totally incompetent in terms of national security. The coalition, quote unquote, that the Democrats really rely on is completely unraveling. Any given day of the week, you go on the New York Times and it says, why Democrats are losing women, why Black men are walking away from the Democratic Party, why Jews are walking away from the Democratic Party. Another shoe drops almost every week. And this guy can't hold it together. He can't hold this administration together. He can't hold any sort of base together. I thought that Trump winning was kind of a foregone conclusion. I started feeling that way about 2 weeks ago. And now this is just kind of, the fine point on that. This guy's not there.
Wow. Who's been running the show the last 3 years is the next question. We have to run, Emma Jo, but real quick, what's your emotion right now? Like, are you happy about this? Are you sad, like, about how bad it is for the country? Like, where's your emotional state in this realm?
I mean, obviously, I make no secret of the fact that I want Trump to win the election. So in that way, I'm feeling pretty good. Obviously, the difference between us and mainstream media, obviously, is we are not shy about just admitting outright where we're coming from ideologically and politically, and that's my perspective, and I've said that a million times. That's obviously Breitbart's editorial perspective, but also, I mean, it's not fun to watch somebody being publicly humiliated, and actually the kind of last year I find of the Biden administration, especially in the last 6 months, has turned into this kind of like ritual humiliation of Joe Biden, of his family, of his grandchildren, of his children. And it's just, it's starting to get kind of nauseating. And it makes your stomach turn a little bit to just watch these people get this public flogging of their own doing on a daily, weekly basis. I mean, this guy falls down in public. He falls up the stairs. He can barely walk. It's like, there's something really like gruesome about watching this. It kind of makes your stomach turn. It feels like watching a car crash.
The great Emma Jo Morris, Breitbart News political editor. Emma Jo, great to talk to you. Thank you.